Every time he lifted his head, it looked even better. You know, the excitement was building, and it seemed like he was just standing there teasing us.
Tonight's headline: South Vietnam surrenders and the communists occupy Saigon.
The year was 1975, and I was selling memberships to a national hunting club part-time while dealing used auto parts as my real job. With no money, no experience, I got the idea of starting a club of my own, sharing the unique culture of hunting across the Lone Star State. Our first magazine was called Texas Hunters Hotline, and it was an instant success. As the stories grew and the pages increased, so did the membership for the Texas Trophy Hunters Association, and the magazine took on the same name. Soon, we created the first Hunters Extravaganza that had never been done before. And in 1998 came the television show, Journal of the Texas Trophy Hunters. I'm Jerry Johnston. Join us as we chronicle the people, the culture, and the experience that is the Journal of the Texas Trophy Hunters.
Here you go, look at the deer.
The feeling of holding a buck, the biggest buck that you've ever killed, something of that magnitude, not every day for me, and it's an awesome rush. Finally putting your hands on a buck that you watched come in and feed, and you waited, it seemed like forever to get a clear shot, and once it happened, it was, I mean, the buck fever just set into as well.
No matter how much preparation you make, sometimes deer hunting comes down to one thing: being in the right spot at the right time. No one knows that better than Bennie Rodriquez. Here on a sunlit November morning, hunting guide and biologist / outdoor writer Jason Shipman wants as many photographs as he can get of his hunter and this great whitetail buck.
I'm gonna get a couple from this angle. Stay right there. Don't move the deer.
Jason took about 75 to 80 pictures on his camera, and then I handed him my phone for another additional maybe 40 pictures.
The old saying about being in the right place at the right time seems to have served Bennie twice. Here in this pasture, and miles away, months ago in San Antonio, Texas.
This would be perfect.
I've been a member of Texas Trophy Hunters for 10 years or so, and every season they have the Hunters Extravaganza in August. If I've got a deer to show, then I take it for the contest.
This is one of the oldest deer contests in the state. So these deer heads have come in from all over the state. We start measuring, we don't know how things are going to pan out, who's going to win what. We've got some great awards that we give out, and you never know, a deer like this here could win a plaque.
For years now, Jason Shipman has run the annual deer contest at all of our Texas Trophy Hunters Extravaganzas. Along with the Journal of the Texas Trophy Hunters magazine editor, Horace Gore, Jason and his entire team register people who bring in their bucks for the contest, score all the headgear, and organize the award ceremony at each show.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. If I could have your attention, we'll go ahead and get started with our deer contest award ceremony. My name is Jason Shipman. I'm a certified wildlife biologist and the lead scorer for our deer contest here at Texas Trophy Hunters.
It's awesome. It's a 3-day event, and we're there for 2 of those days.
This is my 7th year in a row that I've won.
It's become a standing room only tradition.
Good.
But there's one part of this contest Jason started several years ago that seems to be overlooked by so many.
So this deer right here is a perfect example how everybody can be a winner. This deer was taken on a free hunt that was won. At the end of all the extravaganzas, we take all the entries and we select randomly a winner for a free hunt. This deer was taken on our free hunt this past season.
The way it works is this: everyone who brings a deer head to the Hunters Extravaganza and registers for the contest qualifies for a drawing for a free whitetail hunt.
How you doing?
Good, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Good to see you.
Yes, sir. Jason Shipman.
Bennie Rodriquez.
Looking forward to your hunt.
Oh yeah.
As Jason drove up to the house and introduced himself to me, the excitement of being here and knowing that I'm going to be out in the field in an hour or so to be able to take a buck That was exciting. I couldn't wait to get into the blind.
Jason's dad, Stan, was the first to greet Bennie at the ranch gate.
And so you killed a mule deer last year.
I turned in a mule deer for the deer contest in San Antonio and then got a phone call. Man, that put a smile on my face for the rest of the day. I had to call all my friends and my wife and my kids and let everybody know that I had been drawn.
It's the biggest buck he's ever had in his crosshairs, as the Journal of the Texas Trophy Hunters continues.
The Journal of the Texas Trophy Hunters is made possible through a partnership with Kubota. For every task, every terrain, there's a Kubota dealer in your area. Sniper hunting products, changing the game of wireless game cameras. And Horizon Firearms, custom long-range rifles and accessories.
The weather was a nice sunny day. High 60s, low 70s, sunny, very comfortable afternoon. Really pretty day. Looking at the scenery as we were headed to the blind, all the oak trees, the cedar trees, the hillsides, it was amazing, beautiful day. I've had some near freezing weather on opening mornings and we've had some really hot opening days.
It seems this will be one of those hot opening weekends of deer season. So often the case here in Texas.
Honestly, it's tough to pick a good blind here. I mean, they're all good. So we're just going to try our luck at this one today. And I've spent quite a bit of time in it, and it's always done well. So we'll see how we do.
When I was drawing it, I wasn't sure where the ranch was going to be. Just luckily enough, it was here in Caldwell County. Out of all the thousands of people that were entered in this contest, I was drawn, and I live in Caldwell County, same county that this ranch is in, and it was awesome. I mean, I'm 30 minutes from here. Awesome, being able to drive 30 minutes here and not have to be on the road for so long. This is practically in my backyard. Walking to the blind with Jason and seeing the setup and seeing where we were going to be sitting and the openings where the deer would be traveling through. Pretty nice. A lot of oak trees, a lot of big cedar trees. As we got into the blind, you could feel the heat from the sun. It was a nice cool day, but the sun was just beating down and we opened up the windows and there was still no breeze. It was hot.
All it took was entering a deer in the Hunters Extravaganza deer contest, and Texas Trophy Hunters member Bennie Rodriquez found himself the winner of a free deer hunt courtesy Hogan Wilderness Retreat. His guide is Jason Shipman, the biologist who manages the contest and manages this ranch between San Antonio and Houston, Texas. This is their first chance to sit down along the edge of a clearing called Buck Meadow. Not a bad place to be, even if it's almost 80 degrees looking at the sun.
Started hunting with my dad when I was about 12 years old and just fell in love with it and been hunting ever since then. Just could not stop hunting. Have my sons and my daughters that hunt. They love to hunt. I can't walk out the door without them, being right on my tail. Where are you going? What are you doing? I love taking them hunting, and they love to hunt. They love to fish. We hunt. We go out in the mornings. They get up just as early as I do. They help me fill the feeders. They're part of it. They do all of it with me. It's rewarding watching them, but also too as I get that buck fever, watching them pick up that gun and look through that scope and squeeze that trigger. As that first deer comes in, you finally get a sigh of relief saying, okay, well, now the deer are moving, here they come, It was an awesome feeling knowing that the deer were going to come through that pasture to graze, and it was nice. And we saw a lot of deer.
With all the rain this area has gotten over the past few weeks, the thick brush is filled with acorns, giving little motivation for bucks to move. The first major cold front is nowhere on the radar, even if it is November.
To the left of us in an opening, there was a big 10-point that come in. He was sitting in the sunlight as the sun was going down on top of a hill, and it was picture perfect. And he sat there for a long time and gave us a long view of him, and it was awesome. The sun was setting and it was shining on his antlers. Pretty neat picture. If I had a camera that would have reached out there to take that picture, I would have. Every time he lifted his head, it looked even better. The excitement was building, and it seemed like he was just standing there teasing us, watching him. Just an awesome, mature 10-point buck.
Jason knows all it takes is one hot doe to stir things up. He's given Bennie the green light to take this mature buck. Only thing is, at this distance and this angle, it's up to the buck to make it happen. And they may run out of daylight.
This segment of the Journal of the Texas Trophy Hunters is made possible through a partnership with Horizon Firearms, custom long-range rifles and accessories.
As it stands in Texas, the rolling wooded hills of Caldwell County don't appear in the legendary passed-on tales of South Texas whitetail lore. This is the edge of East Texas. Hogan Wilderness Retreat has been under the guiding hand of biologist Jason Shipman for several years, and this mature 10-point buck way off in their extreme left has both Bennie Rodriquez and Jason hoping they don't run out of daylight before the buck has the opportunity to come down closer to the box blind.
Every time he lifted his head, it looked even better. The excitement was building, and it seemed like he was just standing there teasing us, watching him. If he were to come down into the pasture that we were in, he was a shooter, and I would have been able to shoot him. He had followed some does off into the brush, and we were hoping for him to come back out. We waited forever, and he just would not come out into the pasture that we needed him to. As the sun was going down, it was heartbreaking not to be able to get a shot at him. I had my heart set on that 10-point. After a little while, Jason said, well, I guess the sun's gone down and we're out of light. It was hard to leave the blind, knowing that he was within reach, just not quite reachable. Leaving for the evening, knowing that that was the buck that I was after, it was hard to walk away from that blind. We weren't sure if we were coming back to that blind or to another spot, and I was wanting to come back to that blind, hoping that we get a second chance at him. I watched some hunting shows until about midnight, tossing and turning the rest of the night. Woke up at 5 o'clock this morning with very little sleep, just being super excited and nervous and all at the same time. Is it just excited to be here and waiting to get back into that blind to wait on that 10-point.
We're getting out here to the blind early this morning, and we're going to give it another shot and see if we can get some of these bucks to cooperate. If you see that big 10 this morning, I'm going to make you kill him.
As we rode back out to the blind, I was hoping that we were going back to the same one, and we did. We got into the blind and it was still dark. We had probably 30 minutes till daylight. Getting into that blind, I was excited and constantly looking out that same window where he was at the night before, just waiting for him to appear. That was very exciting, being back in the same blind, looking out the same window, waiting for the same deer. That was awesome.
It's cooled off a little the next morning, and Jason and Bennie wait for good enough light and enough luck to get a look at the same 10-point from the night before.
The last thing I expected was to see the same deer from the evening before come out. He was actually the first deer that came out this morning, and wasn't expecting to see him that early. He was out early.
It was a brief glance at that buck from the night before, and all Jason and Bennie can do is wait to see if that buck will emerge from the tree line as the Journal of the Texas Trophy Hunters continues.
Closed captioning for the Journal of the Texas Trophy Hunters is made possible through a partnership with Sniper Hunting Products, changing the game in wireless game cameras.
It's a big, mature 10-point buck that's been teasing Texas Trophy Hunters member Bennie Rodriquez and his guide Jason Shipman for almost 2 days. The last glimpse of that buck is almost more than they can handle.
When he disappeared into the brush, we were expecting for him to come out through the brush on our left side. So we sat there and waited for him to come out. That wait was an eternity. We waited, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 minutes for him to reappear, and it was forever. A friend of mine, Mario, sent him a text this morning saying that we did see a big 10-point, and he was our target buck. So I've been hunting with a lot of my friends, and Mario is one of them, and he's one of the guys that I would call with my first deer for the season, and I expect the same from him.
Jason's been down this road before, the uncertainty of hunting one particular matured buck. Enough time passes where he figures that animal has followed a different career path.
That's a good deer, Benny.
After the long wait on that 10-point, and without him showing up, there was a nice big 8-point that came out of the creek bottom directly in front of us. As he came out of the creek bottom, first thing we were noticing was his brow ties. The length on his brow ties, you know, they were almost just as long as the rest of his tines. Reached down to grab the gun and make sure I didn't bump anything or spook any deer, and slowly moved so that he wouldn't see us, or any of the other deer wouldn't see us and spook them. So it took a few seconds to get in position, and I watched him through the scope. He would not just give us a shot. It would seem like forever waiting for him to turn broadside. It was getting later in the morning, and I knew it was getting late, and the sun was, you know, starting to rise pretty high. The deer were getting a little antsy and ready to move on, and I had to be ready to take that shot when he turned broadside for us. And I didn't want him to head for the brush before I could get a shot on him, so I was prepared. As he was turning perfect to give us that broad shot, the buck fever just set in a little bit, you know, deeper, and as I moved my finger towards the trigger and took the safety off to get ready for that shot, you get that excitement every time you do that, whether it's a doe or a big buck.
Ready? Yeah. Good job. Thank you, sir.
We knew it was a good shot, and he ran off, but you could hear him crash in the creek, running through the brush, and you could hear him pile up. So he didn't go far. That feeling was just, it was awesome, knowing that he was down and I didn't have to go far to get him.
I think you went
Down in the creek bottom down here?
Yeah, right up here somewhere. It was a good hit.
As we got out of the blind to walk towards him and get into the creek and looking for him, when we finally got to see him, he was bigger than I expected.
Oh, he's a nice deer.
Yep.
Nice deer. Well, he crashed, didn't he? Look at him.
When I walked down into that creek bottom, he was just awesome. He was just wide and symmetrical, and brow ties, they were awesome.
Man, he crashed in this creek. Look at him.
He's
He's good. That's a good deer.
He is a giant.
That's a good buck. Look at them brow tines on him, would you? Oh, golly.
Thank you, sir.
Heck of a deer. Look at that. Man, he's an old buck. Look at him. Big old brow tines. He's a great deer.
It's finally putting your hands on a buck that you watch come in. I mean, the buck fever just set into as well.
Personally, I'd have taken him over the 10.
You think so?
He has the age. When he walked out, I said, man,
Yeah.
he's our deer. Look at this. Been fighting. Look at that, would you?
Scars on him?
Just a very good deer. Is that your best?
Yeah. By far.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Glad to make it happen.
Yes.
That is the biggest whitetail that I've killed.
I'm glad I turned in that mule deer to be able to enter the contest, and being chosen was nice. It was good. I was super excited when I got that phone call, and then they said you would call me in a couple of days, and you did, and here we are.
After I get them mounted and get them back to the house, and then in August, take them to enter them into the deer contest, walking through all those people and turning heads, it's going to be pretty awesome. Remembering these memories that were created today, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I would highly recommend anybody that shoots a deer, bring it in for the contest. You never know your name's going to be drawn. It's just a draw of the luck. You might get lucky. I got lucky.
For Bennie Rodriquez, it's what they mean by membership has its benefits.
The moral of the story is if you see a San Antonio area code 210 on your cell phone, is to answer that phone. You never know if it is Texas Trophy Hunters calling you to tell you that you have won. I'll think about that phone call every time I see this deer on the wall.
The Journal of the Texas Trophy Hunters is made possible through a partnership with Kubota. For every task, every terrain, there's a Kubota dealer in your area. Sniper hunting products, changing the game of wireless game cameras. And Horizon Firearms, custom long-range rifles and accessories.